Breslin until 5:30. Now, the recent incident involving Paralympian Nadine Lattimore being refused access to a retail outlet while with her guide dog has reminded us, I suppose, about the ongoing challenges that's faced by people who rely on service dogs for their independence and mobility. And Autism Assistance Dogs Ireland has pioneered the Fulcha programme, and this offers free training to organisations and staff. The head of fundraising and communications, David McCarthy, joins us now. David, I suppose first of all, remind us what happened with Nadine.
Yeah, so Nadine was in a retail outlet in Dublin city centre when she was approached. The strange thing with this one is that it's a regular shop she goes to, so it was an odd occurrence, but she was approached by a security guard and asked to leave because she was with her dog, who was clearly a service dog in jacket with a harness in a working situation. This is obviously a very distressing situation for Nadine, and we have similar. We probably get 2 to 3 calls a week from clients of ours, and if people who mightn't be totally aware of who we are, our dogs support autistic children. So there, with our partnerships, you've got a child, a dog, and a parent. So it's a very obvious that this isn't somebody walking a pet dog in the scenario, because the child and the dog are actually attached. But we still get 2 to 3 incidents like Nadine had to experience every week, where people are approached and asked to either not give an entry or approached asked to leave in situations.
It beggars belief that you get so many calls every week of that nature, and then what's behind them? Is it just down to lack of training, lack of awareness?
Yeah, it's that's in its simplest form. That's what it is. A lot of the times, the incidents occur with staff that are transient. So, a huge, and this isn't picking on any one piece of the sector now, but security is a lot of the calls we get. And usually, when you have security staff, they're not working with the store, so they're probably a subcontracted business. So they could be in a park one day, they could be in a business the next, they could be in a hotel the day after. You know, these people are moving around a lot, and I just assume that the training just maybe isn't there for them when they're onboarding to let them know that they may encounter service dogs in their day to day, and when they do, what to be aware of. And that's where we came up with the idea behind the Fulcha program, where we could provide free, easy access, relatively straightforward training that businesses could then use to train up their staff, so that the staff would be aware of what an accredited service dog looks like, aware of why they do what they do, and then the rights and responsibilities they have under the various pieces of legislation in relation to access.
So in most cases, it's a member of staff, often security. They just see someone with a dog and they ask them to get the dog out.
That's it. They'll approach them and they'll say, look, sorry, you can't have a dog in the store, or you can't have a dog in the restaurant, and they'll ask them to leave. That then leads obviously to some of our clients will be very, like, just like Nadine was for herself, a very strong self-advocate, and they'll, present the situation. They'll say, well, this is actually a service dog, and here's my accreditation, and here's the jacket, and explain it all. And usually, 9 times out of 10, that's enough and it'll be fine. But then we have others who won't be as strong a self-advocate as that. And particularly for us in AADI, where you're a parent out with kids isn't always the easiest thing to do anyway. You add autism into that mix, and you're trying to manage maybe other kids in the situation as well as your child that's attached. The child could be getting distressed because somebody's coming into their partnership, invading the space, if you will, and maybe causing them a little bit of distress. So it can escalate and go to a very uncomfortable position very quickly. And it's such an easy thing to roll back from if the training is done and people are aware. Then it should never occur. Like a visually impaired person working with a guide dog, or one of our families working with a service dog, you can't misidentify them as somebody with a Jack Russell walking into the shop off the street. It's a very obvious distinction,
You chat there about distress, and it's something that parents, children with autism will be well aware of. And then you get an assistance dog, and it can change so much. So their role is vital.
Yeah, so for people who are listening, the idea behind what we do is our children are autistic and they're aged between kind of 5 and 12, usually when we're training them, and they're a flight risk. So bolting is a phrase that people might have come across before. They'll just take off and they've no sense of danger. So it's a difficult one for mom and dad to manage if they're out and about. But if you're in a busy area or traffic, standing at the side of the road and a child goes, they can see the cars, but they're not necessarily recognizing that these cars can pose a danger to me. So that becomes a high risk then for families. And what we see is our two-parent families tend to split. So one parent will go out with the kids that maybe aren't autistic or maybe aren't a flight risk, and the other parent will stay at home. So families are breaking up. Even though they're together, they're not. And our single parent families find it even more difficult because they don't get to go out and engage in the community at all. So what the dogs do, the dogs wear a jacket that's attached to by harness to the child, and if the child goes to run, the dog drops like an anchor, keeps them safe, keeps them in place. And if we're at the side of the road, they're watching. If the child looks to step out before the dog has been given a command to cross, they'll actually get in front of the child and push them back and keep them safe. So what that brings then for the families is families get to come back together and share and experience their community, go to the cinema, go on holidays, go to a restaurant, things that even simple things, going to the shops,
Yeah.
things that were beyond them before suddenly now come back into their world. And we see our families flourishing. We have a lot of kids who'd be non-verbal, and within 6 to 8 months of working with the dog, and this isn't something we train for, but within 6 to 8 months of working with the dog, these kids are communicating. They're using language. They're using it in a way they never did before. And we feel a huge amount of it is the stress that's been taken out of their lives and of the home life has allowed them to kind of develop and evolve and engage in a way that wouldn't have been able for, or they'd have been able for without the support of the dog.
And this is all conditional, of course, on the dogs being allowed into places where families and these children want to go, and where we all want to go.
Well, this is it. I suppose the basis for the legislation is to provide some equity, so some people will be used to seeing ramps outside of businesses for people with mobility issues to be able to get access in and out. You have automatic doors to allow people who maybe would have difficulty opening and closing a door in a standard way. All our building regs have shifted and changed now so that, all access is available to everybody, despite their maybe mobility or disability issue. And this is just an extension of that. This is a vital tool, to talk about the dog as a tool, but this is a vital tool that these families use in order to go out and engage. So the intent behind the legislation is to provide that access and enshrine it in the legislation so they can go out and do that free of the fear that they're going to be refused.
There must be a big demand for these dogs.
Huge. Like we open our list once a year, in May. We start the process in April. We probably engage with 2,500 to 3,000 people on our portal in about 15 minutes, which we have to whittle down to 35. So it's a terrible thing to have to do every year, but it's 35 families we get to support. We're a fully fundraised organization, so scaling, growing that is quite hard because we have to rely on the goodwill of the general population, the community, and corporate partners to support us in what we do. We don't get any state funding for the programs. So that's something we're hoping to rectify this year. We've been working hard on our politicians to try and find a way to put us into their budgets in September, October, and fingers crossed that'll come to pass for us and we'll be able to support more people.
Absolutely. It's called the Fáilte program, and if businesses want to reach out, it's very straightforward as you outlined at the start, and it would be a win-win situation.
Absolutely. And like I said, it's on our website, very easy to get to. It's free to use. It's a very low bar. It just gives you the kind of the highlights of what you need, points to the pieces of legislation you need to be aware of, what you can do within your business to make your customers in the wider community. Because businesses should think of this as an opportunity as well. If they certify themselves and put that certification up in the window, we support 35 families. There's a couple of clients in Donegal, not too many, but there's a huge amount of people who are living with autism in Donegal, both adults and children. So businesses that show this up in their windows will be showing to that community that we're a warm, welcoming and supportive place for them to come. So it makes sense from a business perspective to engage with this as well, rather than having negative conversations happening happening, because I don't think there's any intent behind businesses. It's just a lack of awareness, a lack of training. So that's why we're hoping to plug that gap.
Okay. It's AADI, or Autism Assistance Dogs Ireland, if you want to put it into Google, and all the information and a link to the Vulture programme will be on there. David, thank you. Best luck to you.
Thank you, John.
By the way, I love the headset. I chat to a lot of people on Zoom, and the sound quality can be all over the place. But I can just say that yours is spot on.
Yeah, straight in from NASA.
Well, I look taking one of those fellas on the grid.
That's it.
The Formula One races, you're on the grid.
We'll have our own Netflix series soon.
Yeah. All right. Good luck to you. Yeah.
Thanks very much.
Get with the best. Virgin Media